The observation deck of the Covenant's Edge hummed with the familiar thrum of ion drives as Arya Chen reviewed the incident footage for the 100th time. On the holographic display, the scene unfolded with terrible clarity. The cargo bay, the father Marcus Webb throwing himself over his 7-year-old son as debris became deadly shrapnel, and the dragon-like Drakavix matriarch who had witnessed it all. Arya paused the feed, studying the alien's expression. The Dragavix were massive creatures, their scales shimmering between bronze and gold, wings folded against bodies that could dwarf a small spacecraft. This one matriarch, Sekvara, had been observing the human colony's operations when the accident occurred. Her 3 eyes, arranged in a triangle on her elongated skull, had fixed upon Marcus Webb's sacrifice with an intensity that made Arya's skin prickle. Captain Chen, the comms officer's voice crackled. The Dragavix delegation is requesting another audience. Arya exhaled slowly. Tell them I'll be there in 10 minutes. She made her way through the ship's corridors, nodding to crew members who stepped aside with worried glances. Everyone knew what was at stake. The Drakavix Collective was one of the oldest civilizations in the sector, their territory spanning 17 systems. Humanity, barely 2 generations into interstellar travel, couldn't afford to offend them. The conference room fell silent when Arya entered. Matriarch Sekvara dominated the space, her bulk somehow graceful despite the room's human proportions. To smaller Dragavix flanked her advisors, Arya had learned. At the far end of the table sat Marcus Webb, his arms still in a regeneration cast, and his son Tommy, small and frightened between 2 human diplomats. Captain Chen, Sekvara's voice resonated through the translation device hanging from her neck, a gift from the Dragavix that rendered their rumbling speech into perfect standard English. We have waited with patience. Now we must have your answer. Arya took her seat, meeting the matriarch's central eye. Matriarch Sekvara, with respect, you're asking us to hand over a human child to your custody. That's not something we can do. You misunderstand our ways. Sekvara's wings rustled, a gesture Arya had come to recognize as frustration. Among the Drakavix, when a parent sacrifices themselves for their offspring in the presence of a matriarch, it is a sacred moment. The Corvish, the bond of witnessed sacrifice. The matriarch becomes duty-bound to protect that child as her own. But Marcus isn't dead, Arya pointed out. He survived. The sacrifice was made. Sekvara's voice rose, and the translator struggled to capture the harmonics. The intention, the courage, the love, these were real. That this human survived makes it even more remarkable. His species' fragility is known to us, yet he placed his body between death and his child without hesitation. Tommy whimpered, and Marcus pulled him closer with his good arm. Captain, please. I appreciate what the matriarch is saying, but Tommy is my son. He stays with me. Arya studied the alien matriarch, considering her next words carefully. She'd spent weeks researching Drakavix culture, desperate to find a solution that wouldn't spark an interstellar incident. The Drakavix didn't make idle claims or follow meaningless traditions. For them, the Corvish was as binding as any law humanity had written. Matriarch, Arya began, help me understand. Among your people, what happens when a child is claimed under Corvish? Sekvara's posture shifted, becoming almost gentle. The child joins our flight. They are educated in our ways, protected by our strength, given every advantage our civilization can provide. When they reach maturity, they may choose their path to remain with us or return to their birth family. But they are never forgotten, never alone, and the birth parent, honored, welcomed, they may visit, may participate in the child's upbringing. The bond of blood is respected. Sekvara leaned forward. Captain Chen, you fear we wish to steal this child. We do not. We wish to honor the sacrifice we witnessed by ensuring the child has the protection worthy of such love. Arya glanced at Marcus, saw the conflict in his eyes. He was a colony engineer, a single father who'd lost his wife to a transport accident 2 years ago. Tommy was all he had. There's something you need to understand about humans, matriarch, Arya said slowly. We're a young species, still figuring out our place among the stars. But one thing is absolute. We protect our children, not because tradition demands it, but because every human parent would do exactly what Marcus did. It's not remarkable to us. It's expected. The translation device hung silent for a moment as Sekvara processed this. Her advisors exchanged glances, their scales rippling with colors Arya couldn't interpret. Every parent, Sekvara repeated, not just the brave ones, not just those who have proven themselves. Every parent, Arya confirmed. It's instinct. It's who we are. The matriarch sat back, her 3 eyes blinking in sequence. When she spoke again, her voice carried a different tone, one of wonder. Then humans are more remarkable than we knew. Among the Dracovics, such sacrifice is rare, cherished because it is exceptional. But for humans, it is common. Universal, Marcus spoke up, his voice stronger. I didn't calculate odds or consider honor. Tommy is my son. I'd die 1,000 times before I'd let him be hurt. Sekvara stood, her massive form casting shadows across the room. Captain Chen, Marcus Webb, I have erred. The Corvish is sacred because sacrifice is precious and rare. But if all human parents possessed this courage, then the sacrifice I witnessed was not an exception, it was an expression of your species' nature. She approached Marcus and Tommy, lowering her great head until she was eye level with the child. Young Tommy Webb, know that you are descended from a species of protectors. Your father showed me what humanity truly is. The Dracovics Collective withdraws its claim. Relief flooded the room, but Sekvara wasn't finished. However, she continued, I would request a different honor. Marcus Webb, would you permit me to be named Tommy's Vulcan, what you might call a god, to watch from afar, to offer protection should it ever be needed, to ensure that the courage I witnessed is remembered? Marcus looked at his son, then at the alien matriarch who had inadvertently shown them all how differently species could value the same act. I'd be honored, matriarch. As Arya watched Sekvara gently touch Tommy's head with one massive claw, Dracovics blessing, she realized something profound. Humanity had just taught an ancient civilization a new lesson, that the greatest sacrifices aren't always the rarest ones. Sometimes, the most powerful acts are those performed without thought, driven by love so fundamental that every member of a species carries it in their bones. The Dracovics had come seeking to honor one remarkable human. They would leave understanding that every human parent was equally remarkable, and that made humanity itself something special in the vast darkness of space. Arya filed her report that night with a new addendum to the Human Dracovics Relations Protocols. Recommended Cultural Exchange Program. They have much to teach us about honor. We, apparently, have something to teach them about love.